We'll call the Mandan Public School Board meeting to order. It is May 20th, 2024 at 5:30, and we're in the Brosh-Fralick room. Welcome, everybody. Second item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Thank you. Then we'll move on to the approval of the agenda, and the one we're going to look at, it was updated this morning. We added item C under new business to consider a motion to go into executive session in accordance with North Dakota Century Code 4404-19.1 to discuss a possible sale of property, just to make sure we're all working on the same one. That was added because that offer come in after it was out, but we need to address that tonight. So what are the wishes of the board?
Approve tonight's agenda with that addition.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any other changes? Seeing none, please take a roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item is public communications. Anybody in the audience wish to discuss anything with the board? Anybody wish to approach the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is the administrator's report. Item A is student achievement data update. Dr. Just, welcome. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you guys. I am super excited, honestly, tonight to be sharing the data with you. We, for accountability data in Mandan 3 through 8, we test North Dakota State Assessment. This is the last year of this version of the North Dakota State Assessment. And at grade 11, we test ACT. So I'm here to kind of show you how we've been doing and show some positive trend data for Mandan. This first chart is grades 3 through 5 elementary data in English language arts. The black line is Mandan, the red line is the state average. Those are proficiency scores on the state assessment. You can take a look in ELA, our trend from 2021, which is that first year post the 2020 shutdown for COVID, where our district has been trending. Also on that chart, you'll see what the state average was pre-COVID in 2019, and then Mandan's average post-COVID, pre-COVID before, and then where we're sitting at now. It's just an awesome trend line. Lots of hard work by a lot of our educators and our teachers just to take us from what was some very low scores post-COVID to where we're sitting now. Really excited about this. I think it's a testament to a lot of work through a couple of grants, state grants through Striving Readers and CLSD grant. Wise use of ESSER dollars by the district to really focus in on MTSS and catching our kids up through that MTSS pathways process. Our math data, which is the next trend line, elementary again, a very nice trend line. Dr. Bitts.
Just a quick update. I don't mean to interrupt you, Dr. Jess, but every state sets their own proficiency data. So just because you're not proficient in North Dakota doesn't mean you can't move to, I always use Mississippi, and be proficient in Mississippi the next day. So every state sets their own data, so you can't compare proficiency scores from state to state. Yeah.
I'll double down on that. In the math data, I'll double down on that. In the state of North Dakota, on a nationally normed assessment, 50% being average across the nation, in North Dakota you have to score on average in the 65th percentile on NWA MAP to be proficient in North Dakota. So for instance, if you look at this elementary data, over 50% of our elementary students scored proficient. That would be over 50% of our students scoring in the 56th percentile on a nationally normed assessment. And so that's just awesome data. We haven't quite reached where we were at pre-COVID, but I think we're nudging up against that really close. One thing that I think is important to note is that when you compare ELA and math data took a much bigger hit during COVID than ELA data did. And so that's, again, a really nice trend line for us for elementary. At the middle school level, that's about as impressive of a J curve as I've ever seen in my career. 30 years in education, about 20 years tracking Mandan data. As you know, our middle school was targeted as a TSI school this last year. They did a lot of awesome things to turn that curve up. So a couple of things that I think I want to note is they did a building-wide focus on interdisciplinary literacy and a district building-wide focus on vocabulary instruction. And I think that really made a difference in their scores. But that is an awesome trend line. In math, it might be one of the more weird trend lines I've ever seen. I like the last year though, where we went up. I think some of that is in relation to we've had a lot of turnover in the math department at the middle school, and sometimes you see a little bit of that when you have a lot of new staff. I like where it's trending the last year, moving up. Again, I think this is a good example. You can see pre-COVID and post-COVID where math scores just took a bigger hit during the COVID crisis, and since then we've started to work our way up, hopefully. At the high school level, we had a little bit more, not as much luck in this area in terms of moving up. We had a really nice trend line last year of moving up. Went a little bit backwards. This is in composite data. This is overall ACT score. I'm glad we're still sitting above that 18.4. This is the last year we'll use ACT for accountability purposes, and the last year that our students will all take the ACT assessment, and so kind of be the last year. We're hoping for a little bit better. Some of the, I'll call it explanations. I don't want it to be excuses because we want to own our data, but we've had a lot of 21 ELA and math teachers in at Mandan High School. 9 of them were new this year. And so I think that is a description of some of the things that we got to work on at the high school. We had a lot of turnover in our English department and our math department. This is our language arts scores. That is a combination on the ACT test of an English test, the reading test, and the writing test. It's an average of those 3 scores. We went up and then kind of mirrored what the state did this last year in ELA and in math. Again, I think due to some staff turnover, we really had a nice trend line here last year. Went back a little bit. I'm glad to say we're still sitting above where we were sitting right after COVID, but hoping in the next year when we have a new NDSA assessment that we're able to move up again. In the last one, we give the North Dakota State Assessment in Science in grades 4, 8, and in grade 10, and this is the first year that assessment has been given, that we were above state average in all 3 areas. Super, super great scores this year. Questions?
Thank you, Dr. Justin. I mean, this looks great, and thank you for all educators and support staff. One question, you said that the ACT was going to go away and not everybody was going to take it. What's it going to, if you could just remind us?
It'll be a part of the new North Dakota State Assessment System.
Okay, it'll be part of the state assessment?
Yep, and it'll be given to sophomores in future years.
Okay.
Just a reminder, board, the state was paying for the ACT for all juniors. They did that this year. Next year, the state has discontinued that. They will no longer pay for the ACT for our juniors. Because they paid for the state, schools got a choice to use the ACT for grade 11, or you could use the state assessment in grade 10. Our Student Achievement Committee and our high school chose to use the ACT as our measurement, but next year that won't be an option for us.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
I have a question about the ACT testing in general then. Not all colleges are back to requiring it, but for those students who choose to take it, what will the communication be to the families about getting them registered and making sure they have that opportunity?
Because we still offer, we're a ACT testing location on Saturdays.
Okay,
And so that'll still be a part of what our high school counseling office does.
okay,
And we'll continue to do that. Most of what, as you said, the North Dakota State University system doesn't require the ACT test. For the most part, the ACT is more for students looking for scholarship.
Right.
and that'll continue to be a thing for sure. But we're a local site.
Okay.
We'll continue to offer that through our high school counseling office.
I think it's just going to be that families are going to need to be more proactive in paying attention to that and being aware that it's not going to just automatically happen, that they're going to need to, their child will need to take some action.
One of the things I think our high school counseling office does a good job of is we have a lot of repeat takers of the ACT, and I think it's because they promote that in the first place, because historically the school test isn't the best one.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Drusk. Greatly appreciate the update. Keep up the good work. Moving on then, next item under the administrator's report is the vital network data. Dr. Rederath, thank you.
Yeah, this last legislative session, right at the end, actually, they put some money into a bill to fund something called Vital Network. And Vital Network's intent is to address teacher burnout and retention and helping to help districts to problem solve those things by buildings, specific to buildings and what they can do to increase that retention and decrease burnout. And it comes at no cost to the district for this biennium, so this school year and next school year. And what it does is it surveys staff around 3 core areas. It's care and support, time management, and voice and decision making. And then after the fact, a Vital Staff Network would meet with building leadership teams, whether it's principals or their teacher leadership teams, to examine their data and set goals specific to a building. So what Mary Stark might choose to focus on might look different than what Red Trail or the middle school would choose to focus on. So it's very building specific, but they were able to kind of in general give us some larger district trends that I wanted to share with you tonight. So how their scale works is if it's a 5.5 or above, things are going well. This is a strength, this is good, this is really solid. 4 to 5.5, it's okay, but you might have some things you could look at. And if you're looking at a 4 or below, it's a big pinch point for you, and it's something that should be addressed right away. So for us, first in care and support, as a district, we were a 5.4 as our overall score for care and support. I think one of the really neat things about this is there was a lot, we did both classified and certified staff. This was extremely high in our classified staff, meaning our paras, our custodians, our food service feel valued in their buildings, feel like there's an adult there and another peer that cares about them, and I think that says a lot about our cultures and our buildings. Time management was a 5.1, a little bit lower. I think like anything, obviously we're all feeling the pinch of it. At times it feels like more to do with not as much time to do it. So that was definitely a theme here, but it's something that was still not a problematic area for us. It's something just to look at. And then voice and decision making was our lowest. It was still a 5, but how do we look and make sure that teachers feel like they have a voice, not even just to their building, but up to central administration level? A couple of key points of positive data. I touched on this a little bit. We had a 5.4 in adults in my school, regardless of position, establish good relationships. We take care of each other. We do a nice job in our buildings. And the highest one for us was I feel physically safe at school, which I think that's a really impactful piece because I think we all know adults, kids, if you don't feel safe where you're at and in your environment, you can't be successful. So I was really excited and happy to see those 2 things. The 2 areas that we can work the most on is professional development is relevant, especially since COVID, with a lot of our work on essentials and scales and blueprint courses, we've had to do a lot of work within our PD. It's been good, valuable work, but we've needed teachers to do a lot of work. And we've kind of gotten away from really true professional development in a lot of ways for our staff. And so this next year in our PD plan, really trying to focus back on giving some teachers some voice and choice, still maintaining some of that work, but how can we recenter on what our teachers are telling us they want for professional development and making it relevant, specific to them. And then the next one was teacher input influences major decisions made by central administration. So that's, where Dr. Bitz and I think we need to do a little reflection on how can we increase that communication. We've done the roadshow like we've traditionally done at the beginning of the year, going around to buildings a couple of times this year, throughout the year in buildings, trying to have some of those conversations with staff a little more and being a little more transparent, but just continuing to find ways to at least communicate why we make decisions. It might not always be what people are wanting, but at least having some of that, a little more of that communication of here's why we made the decisions we did when it's possible. So that was just kind of the high points of that data. It's something we wanted to share with you because we gave it to staff and are using it to form some decisions. Do you have any questions on it at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you know?
saw you
How many staff participated in the survey?
You know, I'll have to look and get you the exact number, and I can email out that to you. I believe we had about a 70% return rate on it, so it was pretty high.
Very good.
Yes,
Yeah.
yep,
And that was both classified staff
and certified staff.
certified. Yeah, I'd like to know the breakdown.
Yes,
of the
I could
percentage and
definitely-
numbers of each.
Send that to you.
That's really great.
Yeah, and it was great data, and we're not sure what our next steps next year are going to be, whether we'll continue with Vital Network or whether we will create something internally, but we definitely found some value in being able to, specific buildings especially, being able to garner that feedback.
Yeah, I would just recommend you do the same one so that you can have a similar point of comparison. And if even in the meanwhile, if you have an opportunity to run some like little focus groups on exploring more about the professional development and central administration decisions, that'd be really good to hear some of the qualitative side.
Yep, hoping to maybe pull it into some of our committee conversations, like in student achievement and some of those other places next year.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is a consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have review and consider approval of previous board minutes, May 6, 2024. Accept student achievement minutes, May 13, 2024. Accept joint committee meeting minutes for May 13, 2024. Review and consider approval of April 2024 board bills, expenditure reports, and revenue reports. What are the wishes of the board?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion. We have a second? Second. And we have a second. Please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item is unfinished business. Review and consider approval of a near-site clinic contract with Medallis. You remember at the last meeting, we had a couple questions on a few things. Mr. Legacy?
Yes, good evening. Excuse me. Included in your packet is the updated agreement with Medallis. The language did not change, but we do have the updated and corrected fee schedule. So in page 175 of your packet, you'll see Schedule B, which will have the highlighted amounts will be the corrected fee schedule. Our agreement in the last meeting, our per employee per month cost was $12, and Noel from Medallis had $16 in the presentation. We were able to talk through that, get that down to $15 per employee per month for years 1 through 3. Year 4 will be $15.50 per month, and then year 5 will be $16 per employee per month. And then also the fixed costs you can see highlighted. Years 1 through 3 for every visit will be $89 per visit. Years 4 that increases, and then year 5 that increases as well. Some small escalator clauses. Also included in this agreement is our amendment for GLP-1 or those weight loss drugs to show the copay amounts that we will pick up for our employees. Just to remind you, those members that qualify for diabetic medications can get these drugs through Medallis for zero cost. Those using them for weight loss will be a cost share agreement, which is reflected on page 175 in the packet. So that was not included before. Are there any questions on this agreement?
And if I remember right, that cost share does not go to the deductible, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So we're all on the same page. Everybody's aware of that change there, okay? Any other questions? Go ahead.
Mr. Legacy, I guess, just to make sure of clarification as far as our near-site clinic, this is going to be an option for employees, never going to be mandatory as far as having to attend it and use it.
I'm not going to say never, as that's a school board decision, but I can't imagine we would ever go that way. I think our goal, I'm speaking for our administrative team, and I think I'm going to speak for you, is that we're doing this to increase our options for care for our employees. I would hate to ever go back and force this on any of our staff. They are not going to provide a full range of medical care. This is for urgent care need and preventative screening. I just can't imagine we'd ever go that route.
Any other questions? You get your question answered. Yeah, like I said, go ahead.
Excuse me, what is the cost for the employee again when they go in to visit into a
For their covered cost, it's a $25 fee for the employee, or for the covered services they have, which is urgent care services. And then the plan will pick up $89.
Thank you.
In my mind, the beauty of this is we want our employees to go see their doctor before it gets too severe.
Yep, absolutely.
Try to keep them out of the hospital. Any other questions? If not, what are the wishes of the board?
I would move to accept the near-site clinic contract with Medallis.
We have a motion. We have a second. And we have a second. Any further discussions? Seeing and hearing none, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. Thank you for working on this, you guys. Appreciate it. I think this is a good thing. Moving on to new business, review and consider cybersecurity integration plan. Dr. Rarick?
Yes, thank you.
I was going to say, before you go, I want to set the table for
Sure.
During last legislative session, the legislature was considering a cybersecurity graduation requirement. Instead of doing that, they came up that each district has to have a cybersecurity integration plan that is approved by their school board. So every school district has to have a plan that their school board approves, and that takes the place of a graduation requirement.
Yeah, and I was totally going to lead with that too. So thanks.
It was going to take you too long.
Yeah.
So
Well, Dr. Bitts gave me like a 5-minute time limit here, so that's all I have.
Well, now you're down to 4.
That's it. So somebody start counting down. On the packet that you guys have, there is a Canva link on there for you that we walked through with our Ignite team. You can see kind of who comprises of that team. But one of the things that we did this year is we actually sat down as a team and went through all of those standards that the state recommended. So if you've ever actually seen the full document from the state, there are a lot of standards out there. Many of them very, very tough to teach unless you have a lot of standalone courses. And so that was one of the things that the state recommended is either you introduce a lot of standalone things or you look to infuse it with board approval. So that is why you're seeing what we're seeing is we felt the infusion was a lot easier to accomplish and would get us a lot more traction than trying to do something separate. If you did something separate, you could be talking additional employees as well. So trying to leverage what we can where we can. But on that document itself, and I don't know if that link is on there or not, and that looks terrible on the screen, but there are grade level standards for obviously each grade level. And varied within the colors are different mindsets. And so some of the things we wanted to do with them is we wanted to identify what are the things that we can infuse really without lessons that we can just set as minimum expectations. So for example, one of the easiest ones we can identify is a self-identified passcode for every student's device. So at certain times right now in some of our classrooms, that is a teacher-generated number, especially in our elementary classrooms. But if you start to look at the standards here, by second grade, a student should be able to generate their own passcode, right? Because password security is paramount anytime you're talking about a cybersecurity item. There's a lot of other things on there. Other items there, if you'd see it in orange, those are things we've identified that we have to build lessons for and to drop those within our curriculum. And so what we'd like to do moving forward is identify some teachers within those grade strand areas and actually get them in and help us develop those lessons because they're the ones who know it best. One of them that we have on here that you can see on your screen is discuss that creative works have owners. So it's a copyright thing, and that is discussed in kindergarten. So hopefully identifying with our kindergarten students, right, that they understand that metric. On that doc, you'll see it's K through 12. It's kind of fun once you get into the juniors, sophomores, juniors, and seniors because truthfully it just becomes continued from the previous year, and so you really go back to the freshman level stuff, and it's a continuance because a lot of it has been covered. But these were the things that our teachers and staff identified as what they felt were the most important and the easiest to cover and infuse into our curricula. So with that, do you have any questions?
All right. Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I will tell you this subject is more important than I think most people understand because in the real business world, you cannot even imagine the number of losses that happen in regard to cybersecurity. And kids nowadays grow up with technology, so they just assume it's secure. So to actually educate them on keeping their data safe is huge in today's world.
Absolutely.
It is a problem, that's for sure. All right, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question about the standards by grade strand. Was the document supposed to have a link, an active link?
It does have an active link on there. I don't know if the PDF you received had that link. But if you look where it says standards by grade strand,
Yep.
I'll try to expand that if this computer lets me, right there.
Yeah.
There is an active link there. This document would be made, and the standards would be made public based on your approval as well. It has to be, so.
I will send out the non-PDF version of that. Once you have that, you click on it. That Excel spreadsheet that Dr. Eric just showed you has tabs in the bottom from kindergarten all the way up through grade 12, color-coded by standard. So it's actually a very usable document for our staff and our public.
Any other questions, comments? What are the wishes of the board on this one?
I move to approve the cybersecurity integration plan as presented.
All right,
Second.
and we have a second. Any further discussions, comments, questions? Hearing and seeing none, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. Next item, review and consider an open enrollment application seeking a deadline waiver. Everybody should have one on their desk here in front of them. Dr. Bitts.
Yeah, just a family that was in Mandan that moved out of our district and wants their kids to continue in school here. It's our recommendation that you approve this.
All right, any questions or motions?
I'll move to approve the open enrollment application.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item is consider a motion to go into executive session in accordance with North Dakota Century Code 4404 19.1 to discuss the possible sale of property. Before I take that motion, I'm just going to go over the future meeting dates because once we go into executive session, we'll come back after that and it might be a little bit. May 25th, Native American Honoring at 10 o'clock at Century High. May 26th is graduation, 2 o'clock at Starion Sports Complex. June 24th, regular school board meeting, 4 o'clock, City Hall, and July 15th, regular school board at 5:30, City Hall is our future meeting dates. Is there any other future meeting dates we need to announce? Seeing none, then let's go back to item C under new business, consider a motion. Could I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
We get a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We're going into executive session in accordance with North Dakota Century Code 4404 19.1 to discuss the sale of potential property. So that's what it's about. So please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, thanks, everybody. We are going to go in executive session behind the room back over here, and you're welcome to stick around or you're welcome to go in relation to it. It's up to you. Thanks, everybody. We'll